Have you ever trusted someone at work, only to realize they were smiling to your face while sharpening the knife for your back? I did. My name is Cameron Reed. 8 years ago, I stood in a glass-walled boardroom on the 42nd floor of a Manhattan skyscraper, about to present the project that would make or break my career. I thought I was ready. I wasn't. Because someone I considered a mentor had spent the night before making sure I would crash and burn in front of the entire executive team. What he didn't know was that I'm very patient. And I play a very long game. This is the story of how one act of sabotage started a war, and how I made sure he would never work in this industry again. Let's start at the beginning. Vertex Global wasn't just another fintech company. It was the darling of Wall Street. AI-powered trading algorithms, risk modeling, billions under management. The kind of place where stock options could make you rich by 40 and burn you out by 35. I joined at 29 as a senior analyst. Smart, hungry, and, according to some, too quiet. I didn't play golf with the partners. I didn't drink at the rooftop bars after hours. I just delivered results. Year after year, I moved up. Director of Quantitative Risk by 34. My models caught two near-catastrophic exposure events in 2022 and 2023. The board knew my name. The CEO, Daniel Voss, once called me the conscience of this company in an all-hands. And then there was Blake Harrington. Blake was everything I wasn't. Charismatic, connected, Harvard MBA, third-generation wealth, the kind of guy who could sell ice to a blizzard. He was SVP of Strategic Initiatives, basically the golden child tasked with finding the next big revenue stream. We worked together often. He'd bring the vision, I'd bring the math. People said we made a good team. I believed them. In early 2024, Vertex announced Project Sentinel, an internal AI system designed to detect fraud, insider threats, and regulatory risk in real time. It was my baby. 3 years of nights and weekends. It could scan trading patterns, email metadata, expense reports, everything, and flag anomalies before they became disasters. The board wanted a full presentation in October. If it went well, Sentinel would get full funding, and I would finally get the EVP title that had been dangling in front of me for 2 years. Blake volunteered to co-present. I thought it was generous. The months leading up to the presentation were brutal. I barely slept. My marriage was already strained. My wife Elena said I was married to the job first. But Sentinel wasn't just a promotion. It was protection. For the company, for investors, for the thousands of employees whose 401ks were tied to Vertex stock. Blake was helpful. Too helpful. He'd drop by my office with coffee, ask detailed questions about the algorithm's training data, wanted to refine the narrative for the board. I shared everything. Full access to the shared drive, draft decks, demo environment logins. Trust is a dangerous thing in corporate America. October 15th was the date. Full board, CEO, 3 largest institutional investors flying in from London and Singapore. The presentation was scheduled for 9 a.m. in the main boardroom. I rehearsed for weeks. 43 slides, live demo of Sentinel catching a simulated insider trade, financial projections showing $180 million in prevented losses over 5 years. Blake said he'd handle the opening and closing remarks. I'd do the technical deep dive. The night before, I uploaded the final deck to the shared drive at 11:47 p.m., triple-checked everything, went home, slept 4 hours. I should have stayed. If you've ever had that gut feeling something's wrong, drop a like right now. Because what happened next still makes my blood run cold. I walked into the boardroom at 8:45 a.m., confident. Daniel Voss was already there, chatting with board chair Margaret Ellison. Investors in suits that cost more than my car. Blake gave me a warm smile and a clap on the shoulder. Ready to knock this out of the park, Cam? Absolutely. The lights dimmed. Blake started strong. big vision, market opportunity, Vertex leading the future of ethical AI. Then he turned it over to me. I clicked to slide 5, and the screen filled with garbage. Numbers that didn't exist. Projections showing Sentinel would cost $400 million with zero ROI. Charts flipped upside down. One slide, just one, had a single red word in 72-point font. Incompetent. Gasps. Someone coughed. Margaret Ellison's eyebrows shot up. I froze. I clicked frantically. Every technical slide was corrupted. The live demo? When I tried to log in, the credentials failed. Access denied. Blake stepped in smoothly. Looks like we've had some technical difficulties. Cameron, maybe you can walk us through the high-level concepts verbally? I tried. Stumbled. Numbers wouldn't come. My mind was white noise. 15 minutes later, Daniel adjourned the meeting. Blake offered to troubleshoot and present a revised version the following week. He got the green light to lead Sentinel moving forward. I got a closed-door meeting with HR and a performance improvement plan. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the city lights and realized something that made my stomach turn. This wasn't an accident. Someone had accessed my files after 11:47 p.m. and systematically destroyed 3 years of work. And only one person had full access and motive. Blake Harrington wanted Sentinel, and he wanted me gone. Mid-video engagement prompt number 1. If you've ever been thrown under the bus at work, comment "been there" below. I'll heart every single one. The next 2 weeks were hell. Whispers in the hallways. Avoided eye contact in elevators. My team reassigned to Blake's org. Elena asked if I was having an affair because I barely spoke. I couldn't tell her the truth yet. Instead, I did what any rational person would do when their life is collapsing. I started digging. First stop, IT access logs. Officially, I no longer had clearance. Unofficially, I still had a friend in cybersecurity, Reena Patel. We'd come up together. She owed me for catching a vulnerability that saved her job 2 years earlier. Late one night, she pulled the logs. At 12:03 a.m. on October 15th, 16 minutes after my final upload, someone using Blake's credentials accessed the shared drive. Downloaded the deck. Uploaded a new version at 2:47 a.m. Deleted recovery versions. Wiped audit trails. But Blake was sloppy. He used his personal VPN, the IP traced to his home address in Tribeca. Reena looked at me across the dark office. You sure you want to go down this road, Cam? I was already down it. I just didn't know how deep it went yet. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Everyone says it. Few people actually do it. I considered the nuclear options. Confront Blake, go to HR, leak to the press. All would backfire. He was too connected. His uncle sat on the compensation committee. His college roommate was general counsel. So I chose patience. I accepted the pip with grace, kept my head down, let Blake think he'd won. But every night, I worked. I rebuilt Sentinel on my personal cloud instance, improved it, made it quieter, smarter. And then I pointed it at Vertex's own internal data. What it found in Blake's records made my breath stop. Off-book vendor contracts routed through shell companies in the Caymans. Expense reports with forged receipts. Trading activity in his personal brokerage account that perfectly mirrored Vertex's pre-announcement market moves. Insider trading. Million. Sentinel wasn't just good. It was lethal. And Blake had sabotaged it because he knew if it ever went live, it would catch him. Now I had motive. Now I had proof. Now I needed a plan that would survive his connections. Mid-video engagement prompt number 2. Have you ever discovered a coworker was committing serious fraud? Comment below. I need to know I'm not alone in this madness. Phase 1. Allies. Margaret Ellison, board chair, had always liked me. She was old school, believed in merit over nepotism. I scheduled a courtesy check-in 6 weeks after the presentation disaster. I didn't accuse. I planted seeds. Showed her early Sentinel prototypes, mentioned hypothetical risks around insider threats. Her eyes narrowed. Daniel's been singing Blake's praises lately. I smiled. Blake's very persuasive. Seed planted. Phase 2. Documentation. Over the next 14 months, I collected everything. Encrypted drives. Anonymous email drops to the SEC tip line. Never enough for action, just enough to trigger quiet inquiries. Screenshots. Metadata. I befriended Blake's executive assistant, bought her coffees, listened to her complain about his temper. She started accidentally forwarding me calendar invites. I learned Blake was preparing his own leap, interviewing for CEO roles at 2 rival firms. He couldn't have loose ends. In March 2025, he tried to fire me. Cited continued performance issues. I fought it through HR, produced glowing reviews from before the presentation. The termination was paused pending investigation. Blake was furious. I could see it in his eyes when we passed in the hallway. He started looking over his shoulder. Good. By summer 2025, Blake was unraveling. He'd gained weight, snapped at subordinates, started drinking at lunch. I fed the paranoia carefully. Anonymous notes in his mailbox. They're watching your trades. A fake SEC subpoena left on his desk, printed on real-looking letterhead. He hired private security. Confronted Daniel Voss, demanding to know if the company was under investigation. Daniel reassured him. But Margaret didn't. She started asking questions in board meetings about vendor selection processes, about unusual trading patterns in executive accounts. Blake blamed me openly in one executive staff meeting. Someone's trying to sabotage me now. Daniel told him to get control of himself. I sat silently across the table and met his eyes. He looked away first. The trap was almost ready. I just needed one final piece. December 2025. Vertex announced record profits, stock at all-time high. The board scheduled a special January meeting to discuss executive succession planning. Everyone knew Blake was the frontrunner to become COO, a stepping stone to CEO when Daniel retired in 2 years. I made my move. Through Rena, I arranged for Sentinel, now perfected, to run one final scan. It found the smoking gun. A series of options trades executed through Blake's brother-in-law's account, perfectly timed before 3 major Vertex announcements. Total profit, $14.7 million. Undeniable. I packaged everything. Encrypted files. Chain of custody. Multiple copies. One went to Margaret Ellison with a handwritten note, for the good of the company. One went anonymously to the SEC with full trading records. One went to the Wall Street Journal's investigative team. I scheduled vacation for the week of the board meeting, January 14th, 2026. I wasn't there. But Margaret called me that evening. Federal agents had arrived at headquarters at 10 a.m. Blake was escorted out in handcuffs. The board meeting dissolved into chaos. Daniel Voss resigned by 3 p.m. Stock dropped 18% after hours when the Journal broke the story. Blake's name was everywhere. Insider trading. Securities fraud. Conspiracy. His uncle resigned from the board the next day. Every CEO search firm in the country blacklisted him. No fintech would touch him. No hedge fund. No consulting gig. He was done. Forever. Vertex survived. Barely. Sentinel launched 6 months later under new leadership. I was offered the EVP role. I turned it down. Started my own boutique risk consultancy. Elena and I are separating, but amicably. Some prices are worth paying. Blake's trial starts next year. He'll do time. And every time he applies for a job and gets ghosted, he'll know why. Was it worth it? Yes. Because some betrayals can't go unanswered. And sometimes the only way to win is to play darker than they ever imagined. Mid-video engagement prompt number 3, placed earlier but referenced. If this story fired you up, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to show this to more people who need to hear it. That's the full story of how one sabotaged presentation led to the complete destruction of a corporate predator's career. I don't know if I'm proud of everything I did, but I'm not ashamed either. If you've got your own workplace revenge story, especially one where you played the long game, drop it in the comments. I read them all, and the best ones might inspire future videos. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week, we're diving into another dark corporate tale, the time a CEO tried to steal credit for an employee's invention and lost everything. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp out there. The boardroom isn't always as clean as it looks.